When we come to sexual reproduction, we are skipping the vegetative reproduction part here. We are directly moving to the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction, we all know the sex organs of bryophytes are called the antheridium, that is the male sex organ, and the female sex organ is the archegonium. The plants may be monoicous or dioicous. That means the monoicous plants, as we all know, they bear same plant bears both the male and the female sex organs. And if the male and female sex organs are present on two different plants, then those plants are called dioicous plant. So monoicous and dioicous. So different species of Anthoceros have different types of sexuality, that is, some are monoicous and some are dioicous. And sex organs is another difference from other bryophytes that we have seen. They are immersed on the upper surface of the thallus. We can see one image where the antheridium is immersed in the thallus inside a cavity-like structure. So this is another new feature. In other bryophytes we see they are actually on the surface of the thallus or on the surface of branches, if we talk about leafy liverworts or mosses on the apical region. But here what we are seeing, they are immersed inside a cavity region, cavity-like region. That is why we have used the term endogenous. The antheridia is endogenous, occurring singly or in groups in the upper surface within cavities which are called antheridial chamber. And these cavities are actually behind the growing point, so they are not stopping the plant from growing ahead. And these cavities have a roof over the head, which is one cell layer thick. That is, when these antheridium mature, they can easily rupture the roof and they can come out, and the male's gamete or the antherozoid can easily move from antheridium to the female gamete, that is the egg. And archegonium, another specialized thing is about Anthoceros is, or other hornworts, is that the antheridium is again immersed in the thallus, and since they are immersed in the thallus, the neck cells or the ventral cells are not present. The jacket layer of the neck cells and the ventral cells are not present. And which cells replace these cells? Actually the thallus, the cells of the thallus replace the specialized cells, that is the neck cells and with other ventral cells. Although the neck canal cells as well as ventral canal cells and eggs, these are present, definitely present, but the outer jacket layer is not present, and they are replaced by the cells of the thallus itself. So this is one difference between the archegonium of the Anthoceros and between other archegonium that we have studied in liverworts or mosses. The next slide, we will learn little about the sporophyte of the Anthoceros genus. Sporophyte, as we all know, the name hornwort derives from horn-like structure that we had seen in the first image itself. The sporophyte are long horn-like tubular cylindrical structure, and if we have a deeper look, or if you observe what are present inside this horn-like structure, we will see something like this. The image that we are seeing, that is a longitudinal section through the sporophyte of the Anthoceros. It is elongated, cylindrical, then sometimes spindle-shaped structure with bulbous base. This bulbous base is actually the foot. We all know the sporophyte of liverworts are divided into three regions, that is the foot, then comes the seta, and then the capsule. But in this case, what we are seeing is there is a foot but no distinct seta present. The seta region is replaced by a zone called the meristematic zone. We will talk about that later. And then there is the capsule, or the region where the sporogenous tissue lies, that is the spore producing tissue lies in the capsule. So foot and capsule we can say, but the seta is not, distinct seta is not there, and is replaced by the meristematic zone. They actually usually grow in clusters, or they may occur singly on the upper surface, and they grow up to 2 to 15 centimeters in length. That is quite a long thing if we compare other sporophytes of the liverworts and mosses. This is quite long. So in the field, if you want to visualize which of them is, which thalloid genus is hornwort or liverwort, then this is a good giveaway, that is presence of horn-like structure. We can definitely identify them with these structures. As I said, So length is 2 to 550 centimeter length, and the sporophyte is differentiated in 3 regions: capsule, intercalary or intermediate zone, and the food. The seta is absent, and it is that the place of seta is taken by the meristematic zone. Then if we come to the different parts, that is the capsule. Capsule contains the sporogenous tissue on the side. First, if you go from the outside to the inside, there will be a jacket layer, then there will be the sporogenous tissue, and then at the center there will be presence of a zone of sterile tissue which is called the columella. So if you again see the transverse section, this is a longitudinal section. If you go through a transverse section, that is when the blade is run transverse through the capsule, what we will see from this is actually the top view or aerial view, as we can say. This is the epidermal region of the jacket layer. Then comes the hollow region where the sporogenous tissue, spore tetrads, and the pseudoelaters, these are present. And then at the exactly at the center there is a squarish thing. This is nothing but a column-like structure running from base to the top, and this thing is called the columella. This column-like structure provides supports to the erect standing sporophyte. Otherwise, it would have collapsed. So the capsule region basically has this sporogenous tissue. Then there is columella, and there is jacket layer, and jacket layer will be multi-layered in thickness. And here we will talk about the origin of the endothelial this sporogenous tissue. The sporogenous tissue is from the inner layer of the epithelial cells. As we all know, in case of all von warts, this is true. That is, the sporogenous tissue, spores and the pseudoelaters are formed from the inner layer of the epithelial tissue. That is, and the outer layer forms the jacket layer, and the endothelial tissue completely forms the columella. This is just opposite of what we had learned in case of liverworts, where the endothelial cells tissue were giving rise to the sporogenous tissue. Foot is bulbous, and the function of foot is to anchor the sporophyte to the gametophyte of the thallus, and this is absorptive in nature. Anchoring and absorption is the main function. They absorb nutrition from the photosynthetically active gametophyte or green gametophyte. Although this term, the semi-independent nature of the sporophyte of Anthoceros, is another line that we are quite familiar with. That means the sporophyte of the this Anthoceros is green in nature, and they can produce carbohydrates of their own, although they depend on the gametophyte for minerals and water. So that is why they are called semi-independent. In case of other sporophytes, we have seen that they are dependent on the gametophyte for mineral, water, as well as the carbohydrates, because they are not green in nature. But in this case, we are seeing that the sporophytes are green in nature, and they can produce their own carbohydrates. Then how does the capsule dehisce? The capsule dehisces or splits open precipitally along two lines of dehiscence present opposite to each other. That is, when they dehisce, we will get two valves. Two valves will open, and the spores and the pseudoelaters will be carried by wind to a greater distance. And the new gametophyte will be formed when these spores, that is the spores formed after meiosis, will germinate and give rise to a gametophytic thallus or a haploid thallus. So what are some distinctive features of the sporophyte? They have continuous growth of the basal meristem. This I had not mentioned in the last slide. That is what is the function of the meristematic zone? Meristematic zone, actually it continuously adds tissue to the growing sporophyte. That is, the sporophyte is growing continuously. This is another important characteristic which is not found in other land plants. That is, the sporophyte growth of the sporophyte is continuous, indeterminate. They can continue to grow as long as they are alive, the sporophyte. So because this is because of the presence of the basal meristem, and since meristematic zone is active there, we will see that there is presence of different maturation stages of the spores, because we will see in the lower region the spores are less mature, in the upper region we will see more mature spores, and at the top region we will see mature spores that are completely separated. They are not in the tetrad form, they are separated from each other. Then there is elaboration of central tissue into central columella. This is another important distinctive feature of the sporophyte. Although columella can be seen in other sporophytes as well. In case of mosses, we will see that. Then there is I have said the archisporium amphithecal in origin. That is the inner layer of amphithecium gives rise to the archisporium or the sporogenous tissue, and it extends like a dome over the columella. Capsule wall with chlorine cell with epidermis bearing stomata. This point I forgot to mention, that is the presence of stomata on the capsule wall. Although I had said that the capsule wall is green in nature and they are able to produce their own carbohydrate, but I forgot to mention that they have gas exchange capacity by the presence of a fully functional stomata. And then there is presence of pseudoelaters, which are different from the elaters. This I have mentioned the difference when I was talking about the other genus, that is Markensia.